He will put.
Welcome to the weekly in Yaakov class. I can't talk anymore. We can't start late. I have someone here that would have in my head if you start any later. So
Your child got the mitzvah.
you got put on a hat, jacket, not bar mitzvah yet. 2 months is the bar mitzvah. So today is the 29th day of the month of Sivan. Tonight is actually Rosh Chodesh, the new month. We are beginning tonight the month of Iyar. We have tomorrow. Actually, tonight's the 30th of the month of Nisan, and it is Rosh Chodesh. We have 2 days Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is going to be Friday and Shabbos. Today is also April 16th. We are studying the tractate of Shabbos, and we are in chapter 16 of the tractate of Shabbos. The discussion we had, which we have begun last week, is if there's a fire, God forbid, on the Shabbos, so one is not allowed to put out fire on Shabbos. If someone's house is on fire, unless there's a chance of death, one is not allowed to put out the fire. If there's a risk that someone's life is at risk, then you are allowed to put out the fire. We spoke about it last week. In these days, being that we have electricity, so most fires in a house have the risk of death because of electric. So these days there is permission in certain cases, unless you a small fire that you see, you know for sure is not going to spread, then there's no permission to put it out. For example, we had last week Sophia, we had last week a napkin caught on fire, and naturally what someone threw it onto the floor. So a napkin on fire on the floor, 99% of the time will not turn into anything dangerous because the paper napkin will burn within a few seconds, turn into ash, and that will be the end of it. So I didn't put it out. I just told everyone stand aside, waited a few seconds, and sure enough, it went out by itself. How much more so if it's on ceramic, then for sure you're nothing to be worried about. Thank you very much. I'm not going to make the hagafim because we made one before.
You weren't going to get a whole cup, don't worry.
I know, just a little.
Just 4 cups.
Good. Thank you.
So
Only 4 for me.
however, again, if there's a risk of life, then you may put out the fire. So the discussion that we've been discussing last week in regards to this law is are you allowed to save things from the fire? We know that in Shabbos we're not allowed to carry. You're not allowed to bring out something from your house to the street. Now, when there's a fire, a person has valuables, a person has things in his house, he wants to save things. So what are you allowed to remove? What do the sages allow you to remove in case of a fire? We spoke about it a little bit last week. You're allowed to save a certain amount of clothing by wearing it, not by carrying out clothing. You could quickly put on all the shirts you can, all the clothing you can. You are allowed to also save some food. You're allowed to carry out food that you'll need for Shabbos. You are even allowed to trick. This is a halachic permissible trick. That you're allowed to call out to your neighbors and say, everyone come save for yourself clothing, which means you're hinting out to everybody that you can come run into the fire before it spreads because you know that you can't put it out. So before it spreads to the whole house, they all are going to put on as many clothing as they can, and that is permissible. But to actually take out things with your hand carried, it's not permissible. One of the things that we spoke about last week about are you allowed to save or not is holy writings. If you have a chumash, you have a tefillin, things of holy scriptures, are you allowed to save those things from the fire? We spoke about it. And then we got into the discussion of how about holy items that were written by heretics. If a heretic wrote something holy, does that have any holiness to it? Are you allowed to save it from the fire? No. Are you allowed to even have it in the house? So we spoke about it last week, and the conclusion was that you're not. If it's written by a heretic, it's written by someone that's against God. So it's not, even though it might have the words of the Bible. They might even write the words Holy Bible on it, but doesn't have any holiness in it because it's written by people that don't believe in God. Just as a side note, I looked a little bit into more after the class last week, and I did find some contemporary poskim, people that write more common days. They did mention a possibility of something not mentioned in the Talmud. The possibility that was mentioned was those days writings were written down on parchment. So the holiness of the item, the holiness of depended on the person writing it. So if the person that wrote the Torah is a heretic, he's against that. So that's what would remove the holiness from it. However, these days, something I didn't do major research. I just looked a little bit. But some contemporary rabbis rule that being that everything is done by print and copy and printing press, the printing press doesn't have a mind of its own. So the person that actually did the typing on the computer, and if he had bad intentions when he typed in the translation of the Bible, those bad intentions don't transfer over through the computer into the printed text on the copy machine. So these rabbis, they argue that the fact is that this verse over here is printed, has God's name in it, and being that it was made by a printer, by a copy machine, it does have holiness.
But that leads to even further questions.
So again, therefore they suggest not to trample upon it and destroy it like we spoke about it last week. They suggest to respectfully put it aside, and maybe you can dispose it in the Geniza. Then again, if it needs actually shemus, it's debatable, but it probably should wrap it up in a double wrap, and then you could put it in the regular garbage. But again, this is some people arguing that even though it's made by, God forbid, a church or whatever it is, the fact that it's made by a machine, it is possible that it does have some level of holiness.
Well, that's great for hardware, but what about software? You can program, an AI to be malicious, and the AI will print out a Holy Bible.
What they're arguing is it doesn't go according these days because it's not being written; it just copies. So
right, but that's the hardware. That's the hardware. What about the software?
Right. Okay.
How does that apply to software?
I don't know.
Oh.
Okay, so we're moving.
Tell me what you just said in English.
Okay. Rabbi was saying that if an evil person decides to print something through a printer or a printing press or whatever else, he has
bad intentions regarding
right. He has bad intentions, but it doesn't matter because the machine is just a machine. That's what Rabbi said. Right.
Okay.
Right. And I said that's great because it's hardware. But what about software?
What about software?
Yeah, what if somebody programs an AI to be malicious and the AI prints out a Holy Bible?
Doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why.
It would be the same thing. It would be the same problem.
Programmed.
No, it's a program. Hold on.
Yeah.
Do you program?
No.
I program.
Yeah.
When you're writing code, it has no consciousness or essence or anything. It's code.
Right.
Okay? But if you say write the Bible, the intent of the creator of the code does not infuse into the Bible. It's just a set of instructions.
Right. They're actually what the topic that you're bringing up about software is mentioned, by the way, is brought down in many halachic rulings because we know there's a very strict prohibition of erasing God's name. Are you allowed to erase God's name on a computer?
Right.
It's spoken about. If you have God's holy name, Yud and then a hey and then above and a hey, are you allowed to erase it? And the answer is you are, because what you're seeing is not actual writing. It's just a whole bunch of digits and.
But it's never fully erased, Rabbi. It's like you can delete something and it'll be deleted 99%.
Okay, but it's never existed. It never really existed. It's just a collection of pixels and a collection of dots on a screen.
Okay.
It's not actual writing. Therefore, it's allowed to erase. That answers your question about the software. Okay, we're going to start today's class with a story or a topic that is similar to the topic of last week in regards to, we mentioned the books of heretics. So on that theme, we move on now. Yosef bar Chanan Rabbi Abahu. The sage Yosef asked Rabbi Abahu the following questions. Hani Sifri Devei Avidon Matzilan Oisan Mipnat Leka Ain Matzilan. We spoke about, are you allowed to save books of heretics? That was last week's topic. Today's question is the books that come from the place of Avidan. What was Ve'avidan? Interesting.
It's on the
Ve'avidan.
second paragraph from the bottom.
Ve'avidan were books of holy literature from many different religions that were not written with any specific intent. It was written for, like, for example, in a library or Wikipedia,
Public consumption.
for consumption. And they had all types of religions, all types of books, and they would had a printing press, and they would print these books, leave them in this library, if you want to call them library, and people from all religions were able to come and pick whichever one they wanted to read and study, and then they would have debates. They would argue. Each one would say, look, this book says this and this book says that. So they were specifically written neutral, because you won't be able to debate. If I would translate my way, that would not be a fair debate. So they were actually precise in their translations and also in their intent. So the question is, if someone had a book on loan from this library in his house and a fire broke out on Shabbos, is this book holy? Could I save it or not? Is it considered like a heretic and therefore I can't save it? Or does it have a level of holiness? And Rabbi Avahu said, Ein v'lav ferafi biyad. He actually said, I'm not sure. Sometimes he said yes, sometimes he said no. It was loose in his hands, an expression which means he wasn't confident with that answer. He didn't, and that's actually a lesson, by the way, in itself. Sometimes even rabbis could say, I don't know. I don't know if there's any halachic ruling was ever given to that. I'm not sure. But on that topic of that library, so the Gemara tells us a story. Rav, the sage Rav, Loi Azil Levei Avidan. He would never go to such a library, such a place for debates. Rav was a rabbi. His name was Rav.
Another rabbi.
Yeah.
Okay.
His real name was Rabbi Abba. They gave him a title Rav, like rabbi. So he would never go to this place of Be'avidan to debate, even though some of his colleagues would go. He would never go. Definitely, there was a different place called Beit Nitzrfei, also a debating place. But over there was a place of idol worshippers, and there was an idol over there. So for sure, he never went there. But even to the neutral place, he never would go. Shmuel, which was Rab's contemporary, he would always argue with him. So Shmuel himself, he would not go to Beit Nitzrfei, to that idol place. However, he would go to Beit Avidan. He would go there from time to time to have debates. So we see some rabbis went there and some didn't go.
Is that set way, do you or don't you? Or that's
Well, actually, you could.
personal opinion?
It's a personal opinion, because you could actually see. You see from his first answer, he said he wasn't sure. So this gives us, by the way, I think a fundamental approach. There are certain areas, in English there's an expression called gray area. There are certain areas, even in Jewish law, of gray area, where there's no clear answer, and a person has to make his personal assumption, his personal, not assumption, his opinion. He has to be educated opinion, not just how he woke up in the morning. I'm in the mood of going, I'm not in the mood of going. But again, only when halacha tells you that it's area. If halacha says we can't decide by ourselves what's considered gray area or not.
Why not?
So they asked, can't you? Because the Torah, when the Torah does tell us, the Torah tells us.
Oh, okay.
They asked Rava. Rava was a different sage. His name was Rava. They asked him, what's the reason why you don't go to these debates over there? We had some very good debates, and why didn't you go? People from the other side, or sometimes non-religious Jews, would also like to go there to debate. Actually, just to talk Rabbi, and he was fun, but he was speaking against some rabbi. It seems like some reform was becoming very famous in the news back then in the 60s, 70s, I don't know his name. And he became very famous in debating Christians. And he thought Jewish matter is going to save the Jewish people by being the one to debate. And the Rebbe was very upset about this. And he says he doesn't keep Shabbat, keep kosher, and he's going to go and debate the Christians. And he feels like God needs his defense. And he's sticking up for the Torah. If you want to stick up for the Torah, you got to keep the Torah. So anyways, so people challenged Rava and they say, why don't you go to Bei Avidon with us? And he answered, oh, there's some tree, Dikla Planya Ika Ba'archa Uksheli. There's some palm tree on the way and has big roots coming out, and the road is very bumpy. So I can't go. So Rashi points out, the commentary Rashi points out that this is an expression, Doicha Isam Bekash. He's just pushing them away with straw, giving them a made-up answer, baloney, just to like get them off his back. Like there was no content in what he was saying. He was just making up an answer. So they said, "Oh, we could uproot it, niakre. We could uproot this the trees on the way. We'll get rid of the tree for you." He said, "No, then there's going to be a hole. If you uproot it, there's going to be holes in it. It's not going to be safe for me to go." But again, this is just making up excuses, diplomatic excuses, if you want to say, not to go to these places. He didn't. Why indeed were they afraid to go? Not because of the idol worship, because there was no idol worship there, but many times Jews, and this is also throughout history, many times Jews refrained from debating other religions because they were afraid of winning. Because if they would win, they might get killed. They might get killed. They would, and to go and lose Chilul Hashem, that's going to be disgrace to God. Going and winning is dangerous. So what's the solution? Don't go. It reminds me, we have over here a member of the shul, by my father-in-law, he had become more religious, famous boxer, Dimriti Salita, David Salita. You ever heard of him? He became a world-class champion. And he kept Shabbos. And he became very famous in the news. Everyone was talking about it. The Jewish boxer. Became very famous. So, right, he didn't want to come in on Shabbos, and he became very famous. Made a lot of very big Kiddush Hashem. Thank God. So he made it very high. He had a streak, no losing streak for many, many games. And then it became championship. And he was going to play in the championship against a certain Muslim. His name was Khan or something, a big boxer, Muslim guy. And by the game, came in the game with the singing Tzamel was playing, and he lost. He lost the game. And people were saying the rabbi's brother was very close with him, and he went with him to all the games. And he said afterwards he was looking at the eyes of the Muslims and the people in the crowd during the game, and he said it's a blessing that he lost, because if he would have won the game, he might have lost his life. Because the people in the crowd were so it became like a Jew against Muslim. That's the way the world was looking at this fight. Right, but that was a boxing match that he had in the stadium. All right, he was a champion.
Can I show you something?
Yes.
Yeah, this is not a donation. So don't get that.
Not a donation.
The best way to win is not to play.
Make it quick. We'll move on to class.
Don't take too soon. I forgot to break it down. What is this? You know what that is?
No.
That's a Jewish star. Do you know why this is a Jewish star?
Why?
Because Jews financed the American Revolution.
Oh, okay.
And what's the eye for? The all-seeing eyes.
All the revolutionary
no.
points, all the points from the 1800s had Jewish stars on them.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
Because Chaim Solomon financed the Revolutionary.
Yeah, we know a bit about Haim Solomon.
Oh, Eliezer, that's different.
Okay, another rabbi's approach. His name was Mar Bar Yosef. He said, "Oh, I am on good terms with these people by the debates, and I go there often, and I'm not afraid of them."
He's not small, is he?
And then the Talmud concludes, Zimnachada azil ba'u l'sakune. Actually, one time he went to debate and he just made it out barely alive. So,
Yeah.
so much for talking big. This rabbi himself finished. Okay, so on the topic of heretics and non-religious people, so we move on to another story.
I know when I was in college, there were several different religious groups, who wanted to have a debate, and I go, no thanks.
Right. Okay, that's a smart answer. Imash. Now we're going to move on to a new story. This is a story about a woman. A woman. Ima Shalom divisayu de Rabbi Eliezer, achase de Rabbi Gamliel have. The great sage Rabbi Gamliel had a sister. Her name was Ima Shalom. Ima in Hebrew means mother, but mother of peace. But this was actually her first name. Ima Shalom. That was her name, and she was Rabbi Gamliel's sister. And she married the famous Rabbi Eliezer. You know Rabbi Eliezer? Yeah. So she married Rabbi Eliezer. This should be a good shidduch for the Eliezer. Find a good shidduch. It doesn't have to be a woman by the name of Ima or Shalom.
Not.
So Shalom is good. Peace. Shalom is a peaceful woman. Amen. So Ima Shalom was the wife of Rabbi Eliezer, the sister of Rabbi Gamliel. So Hava Philosopha. The word sounds familiar? Philosopher, of certain philosopher. So that word philosopher is in the Talmud. Philosopher b'shavavuse. In his area where he lived, Rabbi Gamliel and his sister, that area where they lived, there was a certain philosopher. The havishakal shema the lo mekabel shuchta. He was a type of judge, type of like an officer that would take cases, litigation. How you say it?
Yes, he would adjudicate.
Adjudicate. He was like a mini judge. Not like a big famous one, like people would come to him for judgment.
Local judge.
Huh?
Local judge.
Local judge. And he had a reputation that he didn't take bribes. But in truth, he did. He just took
Inducements.
inducements. He just took so you would have to come to him privately to give him the bribe. And then publicly he did not take any bribes. Sounds familiar.
Privately.
Probably private.
Nobody see it, nobody knows.
Right. So Bo la Chuchebe, Rabbi Gamliel and his sister decided together they're gonna put him out of business. They're gonna expose him publicly. So they decided to make up a story to do this. And it's a very cute, interesting story. Ima Shalom, the Rabbi Gamliel's sister, secretly brought him the night before a golden lamp. And she said, "This is a present for you. I'm coming tomorrow." A golden lamp. And she said, "I'm coming to you tomorrow." Okay, he said, "No problem." Took it, big smile. "I'm waiting to see you tomorrow." Comes tomorrow, and she is coming to a court case against, guess who? The famous Rabbi Gamliel, which was the prince of the Jewish people. So here we have the prince of the Jewish people with his sister coming to court. What's the court case? Amar lehu, Amrale, she says to him, "I'm coming to you because I can't really go to the rabbis. You'll hear my case, and I'm coming to you to get judgment." What's the case? My father passed away, and my father's estate is now up for inheritance, and I want to get a portion. He, my brother, is taking the whole thing for himself. Amar is the judge. Good. You should half and half. Brother and sister. 50-50. Rabbi Gamliel speaks up. Says, "Wait a minute. We're both Jewish. Kisivlon, in our Torah, it says that when there's a son, the daughter doesn't get." The truth is, this is doesn't say these words clearly in the Torah, but it's derived very clearly from the Torah. It says if a man dies and he has no son, then the daughter will get, which implies if he does have a son, the daughter doesn't get.
So it doesn't get.
Right, and that's clear according to Jewish law. These days, by the way, many people
Still,
they don't give because the Torah doesn't allow it. So, but they do want their daughters to get. There is a way how to do it, which will get equally. It's not done through inheritance. It's done through gifting. If a father, before he passes away in his will, decides to gift his property in a certain way, then he could give whoever he wants, how much he wants. So many Jewish families do a will, or a halakhic will, to include it. Only that, they even have to
dowry.
sign a document that you go afterwards to court or to undo it because you could use the legal whatever. Anyways,
Why is my signature not valid unless I write it in Hebrew?
who told you that? I don't know if that's even true. Is that true? I don't know.
The question.
Did someone tell you that? Someone told you that?
No, I was at a wedding and they wanted people to sign it.
For the wedding contract. Okay, ketubas, that's a little different.
Yes.
It's a wedding, it's a Jewish document.
So if
But
I write it
but in a
in-
loan document or a will, I don't think it has to be in Hebrew.
Yeah, just make sure it's a marriage document.
No, a marriage document is a Jewish religious document, so it makes sense
It
that
has
should
to
be
be
in
in
Hebrew.
Hebrew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just be sure to sign the tubal.
So that goes for anything from a base then? That's
Ksuva, a get, doesn't have to be in Hebrew, but a loan doesn't have to be.
And let's assume, I want somebody to sign that, however, he's not able to do it in Hebrew.
No, he doesn't have to, the actual signature doesn't have to be in Hebrew.
Oh, okay.
No. Signature is whatever way he signs.
Yeah.
They're going to ask him for his Hebrew name,
Oh.
and that's needed for future reference. That's needed for future reference. No, you don't have to. Never make a brand. Okay, so he says, the Torah says that daughters don't get. So why should she get? This was Rabbi Gamliel, the brother's claim. So the judge, being bribed, he says, Amar lei, the judge said, Min yoma digaleisen me'archem, because you Jews are no longer in the land of Israel now, you are exiled from your land. So now the law doesn't go according to your original Torah. You go according to the law of the land. And he picks out from a book of a new book of laws, and maybe what someone would call the New Testament or whatever book he had. And he said, look what I have over here. Charlie, I have over here a book, and this book has updated, revised laws.
Much better than you.
And here it says, a son and a daughter will inherit equally, and you guys have to split it.
Yeah, and
So the story's not over. They said, let's go for recess. We gotta come up with more proofs. We gotta look, let's come back tomorrow. So they postponed the case. We'll come back tomorrow, reconvene tomorrow. That night, Rabbi Gamliel visits the judge's house, and he gives him Hadar Ayalu Iyu Chamara Luba. He gives him a very expensive Libyan donkey.
camel.
Donkey.
Really?
Said by you camel?
Camel.
It says Chamra. Chamra is donkey.
Oh yeah, Libyan ass.
No.
That's what it says. That's what it says. Dude, look for yourself.
And who does like little Libyan ass now and then? I always say.
Okay, so he gave him a very expensive donkey. And he says, I'm coming back tomorrow. You'll take care of me, right? So they come back to the case the next day. And Rabbi Gamliel and his sister made sure that the crowd was
Agitated.
No, there was a full crowd. People from all spectrums. A lot of people there, Jewish people, non-Jewish people, everyone came. This was the prince of the Jewish people. Imagine all the newspapers. Chief Rabbi of Israel going to secular court. This was big news. So everyone came to watch.
It's in the Daily News.
And the judge gets up and the judge says, Shafilis l'seifer desifra. I was doing my research last night and I was looking in all the textbooks and I was going through all my books and I found a special passage. It says here, Ana lola mifchas min haraisa de Moshe Asisi, the lola osvel haraisa de Moshe Asisi. Whoever wrote these laws, we don't know who he is, but he's the New Testament laws. He writes over here that he's not coming to take away from the book of Moses, and he's not coming to add of the book of Moses. He writes that himself. So based on that passage, that he's not coming to take away from the book of Moses. So if in what your claim yesterday was that the book of Moses says that if there's a son, the daughter doesn't get nothing. So we should have to change the ruling from yesterday. And now my new ruling is that she should get nothing. So she stands up and she says, Your Highness, or your whatever you say to the
Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
Says, Your Honor, I want to remind you something. Yeah, what do you want to remind me? She says, Nahar Nahirech Kishraga. Remember the lamp, the golden lamp? Your light should shine like a golden lamp. She was hinting out to him, I gave you something.
Yeah, wink.
With a big wink. And everyone in the crowd she made sure everyone in the crowd heard that wink.
Yeah.
And then Rabbi Gamliel stands up before the judge has a chance to answer. And he says, wait. A big donkey had come last night to the judge's house and he knocked down the lamp that you gave him. And this was basically how they exposed this phony judge in front of everyone. And everyone saw how he was taking bribes, and everyone saw how he switched the law around to accommodate the new bribe, and that was the end of his career. No, he gave a bribe of a donkey. That was the bribe that he gave.
It's like
He got for president.
the donkey.
Gift of the donkey.
No. The gift destroyed the land. The donkey destroyed the land.
And you know what this teaches us?
Yeah. What does it teach us?
It teaches us that if you're gonna take a bribe, you need a bribe.
No. It teaches us that
That's
you
what
you should
you
go
gotta
into a
do.
more lucrative business like money laundering.
Out there.
The man came and gave him an expensive donkey to get his indecision.
Libyan.
So that's how they told the whole world, look at this. He takes the bribes.
Right. There's actually just on that line is a famous joke, or maybe it's a true story. A certain rabbi that made it to court, and the judge asked him a very hard question, and he put him on the spot.
Eat these are softer.
And the rabbi felt he had to put the judge in his place to answer a question for a question. So the rabbi said to the judge, "Is it true that you stopped taking bribes?"
Oh gosh, I never started.
What's he supposed to say? Is it true that you stopped taking bribes? If he says yes, it means he used to take bribes. He says no, he's still taking bribes. So he gave him an example. He said not all questions are yes or no, because the judge wants yes or no. Not all questions are yes or no.
That's true.
Okay, we're moving now to the next topic, and the next
So,
topic
Rabbi,
is Shabbos.
Are you still taking bribes?
Oh,
Oh,
Of course.
can't use my stuff against me.
What are you talking about? You were trying to bribe the rabbi earlier. You were trying to bribe the rabbi
Everyone saw you
earlier.
take out $1.
Exactly.
Not a bribe, it's a donation.
Wink.
Okay, Amar Rav Chisda says, "La'olam yashkim adam laheitzah Shabbos." This is not a story. This is more of a.
He just said it was a donation. You have to do your
Yeah.
dollar then.
It was a donation, and it was
We
also
all
a
heard
joke.
him. We all heard him.
Can you imagine if I was a rabbi?
A person should on Friday.
And what else was it? Huh?
No, that was a joke about a dollar that, then it shows something to the rabbi. Oh, the rabbi, oh, the dollar.
That's a George Star.
Okay, la'olam yashkim adam laheitzah Shabbos. A person should always wake up early Friday to go out for the expenses of Shabbos. When a person has to go shopping for Shabbos, has expenses. Shabbos has expenses. Don't push it off till Friday afternoon. Wake up early Friday morning to do your Shabbos shopping.
Because
These days we don't do it Friday morning. We do it already Thursday and
I
Wednesday.
think this should also be applied to Pesach too.
Thursday night.
You don't see the insanity you know,
They're all
it's
good.
like a week before Pesach, people are going crazy.
So you're saying that everyone should wait till the Erev.
Yeah,
Well, the amount of stuff that people buy these days, you have to start a week earlier.
you have to start.
If everybody
months
would come, if everybody would come a week before, the day before, then it would be
Rabbi, you have to start months earlier.
right. Where do we see? Wait, where do we learn that you have to prepare early morning? So it says in the verse regarding the regarding the manna that fell from heaven. So the verse says, "V'haya bayam hashishi," and it will be on the sixth day. V'hechinu eis asher yaviu. They have to prepare what they're going to bring, and this verse implies la'alter, that right away, as soon as the become v'haya bayam hashishi, when it will be the sixth day, you shall prepare. So when the verse implies, right when it becomes the sixth day, early in the morning, you have to start getting ready for Shabbos.
So on Thursday?
No, right when, or maybe Thursday night, because that already starts to. But here it says Yashkim, you should wake up early Friday. Amir Rabbi Abba, when those days going to the store for Shabbos,
Wait,
meant you're
tomorrow's
going
Friday.
to buy two things. These days, with all the extra stuff you buy, you got to start earlier. Amir Rabbi Abba, the Shabbos Chayiv Adam Livtsoya Al Shtei Kikaris. A person is obligated to. The word is Livtsoya means literally means to break bread, which means also to cut the bread. But we use the word break. Some people actually break it with their hands, now with a knife. Not so complex. Etiquette, what's the word you always tell me? Proper etiquette to break it with your hands, but it is a
I remember. I
breaking.
used to
Break.
and then you have to dip it in
The salt, right? So there is the idea of breaking the bread, or cut the bread, and we have to do it on two loaves of challah. Take two challah. Why? The chsiv lechem mishneh, double portion. When they got the manna on Friday,
Yeah.
it says for Shabbos they're going to take a double portion. Amar Rav Ashi, Rashi says, chazina Rav Kahana the nakatarti vatzachada. He would take two loaves, but he wouldn't actually break both of them. He only would break one of them, which also these days, if you only need one for your family, you don't have to break two if you only need one. You could save one for the next day. But you do make the blessing on two. Because it says Amar Lok Tuksiv. It says they gathered two, but it doesn't say they actually ate two. So we learn from there, you don't actually have to open up both of them. Reb Zeira Hababatza Akula Sheirusei. Reb Zeira would break from his norm of proper etiquette.
Etiquette.
I never get this word right.
Etiquette.
Etiquette. He would break from the regular normal way, and for the meal Friday night, he would actually take a big piece. He'd break off a big piece. He'd break off a big piece, what he would need for the full meal. So let's say he needed half a loaf for his meal. He would break off a big piece.
A nice size piece.
Cut himself a big piece. Basically, when he cut himself a very big piece. So people asked, it looks like Ravas Tsunasa. It looks like what's the word? A fresser, a gluttony. Someone that's pressing. Someone takes a lot. It's not nice to take a big piece.
He's being greedy.
He's being not greedy, but he's being like a glutton. He's like
He's being
pressing.
generous.
Yeah, it's not nice to cut yourself a massive piece.
So,
You're supposed to have a small piece. Supposed to be menstrual.
Yeah, but
So
you
the
can't
Gemara
have that.
answers-
I mean, it's like when I come to your house and and you have this sourdough bread, it's like you can't help it. You need to have another piece and another.
That's right. But he originally, first piece that he cut for himself was a big piece. So the Gemara says, wait, that's not nice. No.
the big piece, wasn't you?
Not you.
I'm an innocent.
So they answered, listen here, it's a good answer. He says, because every day of the week, whenever you cut bread, and only on Shabbos you took a big piece, so now no one's going to think that he's pressing. Everyone understands that he's doing it to honor the Shabbos. In honor of the Shabbos, he wants to take for himself
Yes,
a
but
big
there's
piece.
honoring and there's honoring.
Right.
Wink, wink.
Yes.
Wink, wink. Yeah,
Another story about Amir Abasi, whenever they would have the Erev Chatzeres, Erev Chatzeres is the bread that you collect from all the courtyards.
Right down the road.
So they would put it in their house. They would use those breads that were for the Erev they would use those breads that was meant for the Eruv, they would use it for the Lechem Mishnah. Not just eat it later during the meal, they would use it. And they said, once you're doing a mitzvah with it, one mitzvah with it, then you could kapara and you do another mitzvah with it as well. The Gemara then continues, one last thing before we finish for today.
The spread is just on the street.
How many meals are you supposed to have on Shabbos? So one rabbi says 3, the other rabbi says 4. Where do they learn it from? From the same verse. It says Moshe said to the Jewish people, you should eat today, because today is Shabbos for Hashem, and today you're not going to find any man in the field. So the word today is mentioned 3 times in the verse. So one rabbi says 3 meals on the day of Shabbos, plus 1 the night before, equals 4. The other rabbi says, no, the 3 days include the night before. So you have 1 in the night, and then another 2 by daytime. Just to mention, to finish off, the Chabad custom is that we're not so careful with the 3rd meal on Shabbos, called Shalosh Sudas. We're not so careful to actually wash. We just eat some fruits or some mezainis. We don't actually wash. And the same verse that we learned from the 3 meals from, so the 3rd one says, Hayom lo timtzu. Today you will not find. So there's a negative connotation to that 3rd word, Hayom, today. So according to the Kabbalah, the end of Shabbos is a very holy spiritual time. So it's not appropriate to sit down and have a physical meal with food. So it's a mitzvah, so we eat something.
What's the Malka?
No, that's after Shabbos.
Kill off the children.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you, God willing, next week.